Disney fans agree on almost nothing. IPs versus original ideas. Classic technology versus new innovations. Genie Plus versus FastPass. But the biggest battle, by far, is over the thing that you're watching this video on right now. Screens.
Soarin to tower. We are ready for takeoff.
It doesn't take long to find the passionate arguments on every possible side of the screens debate. And it's not without reason. For several years now, Disney theme parks have been integrating a lot more screen-based effects into their experiences. From animatronics, to show scenes, to full simulator attractions, there has definitely been a screen revolution as of late. It's easy to see why they do this. From the very beginning, Imagineers have worked to integrate the newest technology they can into their experiences. The introduction of audio animatronics in the 60s with The Enchanted Tiki Room, and then eventually with Pirates of the Caribbean, completely changed how amusement parks could tell stories. Disneyland would get one of the first regularly running monorails in the 50s, and the first tubular steel roller coaster in the world when the Matterhorn bobsleds opened. And that tradition of experimentation has continued into the present, with the opening of the best theme park attraction I've ever been on, with Star Wars Rise of the Resistance in 2019, and the introduction of the amazing Spider-Man Stuntronic back in 2021. But a lot of the conversation about the theme parks right now is about how much Disney overuses screens. Why is that? First, I think there's an important distinction to make. Even though everyone calls all of these screen-based effects, it'd be better to call them projection-based effects.
Wow!
While Disney does use screens a lot, it's usually in pre-shows or interactive cues. The effects in attractions are closer to the technology of Happily Ever After than to the Test Track Design Lab. The reason this matters is that it's not like Disney is just putting up a flat-screen TV in Na'vi River Journey. There's actually a lot of complicated technology and artistry there. Disney calls it the ProCam system, a collection of projection cameras that work together to take in the shape of a surface and turn it into a set of points that they can modify and paint in different ways. When you look at all the ways they use this, set extensions, ride effects, animatronics, even entire nighttime shows, it becomes harder, at least to me, to say projection is bad. They're not even really new. One of the earliest examples of this kind of technology is the Haunted Mansion's singing busts in the graveyard. By building physical busts and projecting footage of singing faces onto them, it looks like the physical busts are really singing. So, if these effects aren't new, and are used in many beloved ways, what's the problem? I think it's that they're increasingly being used too often, and in the wrong ways. When Genie Plus was first announced, a lot of people took issue with it, myself included. The reason was because we already had FastPass, and so Genie Plus just seemed like good technology taken in a less than ideal direction. And that seems to be at the heart of the screen battles too. I haven't met many people who hate any use of screens ever. No one's complaining about the Ray hologram in Rise of the Resistance or Wonderful World of Animation at Hollywood Studios. What they take issue with is the large parts of Remy's Ratatouille Adventure where you just park in front of a screen, or the creepy projection faces of the characters in Frozen Ever After. It seems to be way more about execution than about the technology's existence. Interestingly, Universal Studios, yes, I'm talking about Universal, it's okay. Universal Studios has also been increasingly relying on screen-based effects in their parks. Many of them, though, are consistently highlighted as the right way to use projection effects. The Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man, for example, takes you past screens to show you things they can't really build out, but combines those screens with physical set pieces and practical effects, creating an immersive and balanced experience. They also have Fast and Furious Supercharged, though, so I don't know. Ultimately, my problem with this technology is just how often they use it. It's hard to see Shanghai's version of Frozen Ever After have animatronics that are so much better than the ones in Epcot, or to have the Great Movie Ride's detailed sets replaced with a bunch of screens. Of course, we all know why things are this way. If a projector breaks, they can replace it with another one and fix the effect. That's a little easier than getting a giant cannon to move back and forth, or a turntable to spin when it breaks. Not to mention that Disney can update an attraction by writing different code, instead of by overhauling an entire show scene. It's easier and cheaper to create and keep up these digital environments. But of course, they're also not nearly as immersive. Part of why I love Rise of the Resistance is because it really does feel like you're in a First Order base, like you're in the world of Star Wars. It's harder to feel that with pretty much any of these projected effects. But, to be fair, they also have a lot of unique features. It's brought the interactive power of Toy Story Mania and put it in the real cartoon world in Goofy's Paint and Play house. The immersiveness of Pirates of the Caribbean Battle for the Sunken Treasure is greatly helped by its projection mapping. Lightning McQueen can actually talk to you, even if the lighting isn't quite right. Games in the queue for Soarin interact with how you move your arms, and even map your shadow back onto the digital elements. For as many problems as I have with Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, a complicated name to say, the 2.5D effect is cool, and I really respect the desire to get that multi-layered quality without using 3D glasses. And it's undeniable that the factory morphing around you into the park is a fantastic illusion. And none of these would be at all possible with physical sets or traditional animatronics. It's really easy to get caught up in how often Disney slashes a budget, or gives a US park a less cool version of a foreign ride because it's cheaper. And to completely ignore the genuinely groundbreaking and incredible things that we are getting. Does that make up for how frustrating it is that the same ride is so much better overseas? That's not for me to decide. But I think it's important to note that Disney is still innovating. They've announced plans to learn to map projections onto moving surfaces like human faces, and they're exploring how best to make use of augmented and virtual reality to bring fully immersive stories to life. Clearly, I'm unexpectedly very passionate about this topic. I've expressed before the weird tightrope that is being a modern Disney fan. Being genuinely enthusiastic about some of the things they're putting out, and being markedly less so about others. At the end of the day, Disney's not a monolith. They have their missteps, they have their blatant corporate notes, but they also have a history of continuing to make bigger and better experiences. And that's something I'm very excited to see continue to develop. Screen Zeno. Can you please fix Elsa? At some point. Until next time, be sure to gather all your carry-on items from the undersea compartment and exit to your right.